So, how can the government improve disaster management in Indonesia to reduce general damage and number of casualties? Well, we speak with Habib Abiyan Dzakwan. He was a researcher at the Disaster Management Unit at CSIS Indonesia, and he is currently taking up further studies at the School of Advanced Studies in Johns Hopkins University. Hello, Abiyan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Mas Abi.
Hi, good morning, Mas Paul and Mbak Marisa.
Hi.
It's always my pleasure.
Oh,
Great seeing you again.
thank you. So, Abby, from your observation, do you see anything particularly different about this year's natural disasters in Indonesia compared to previous years in terms of frequency or scale, for example?
Right, you mentioned correctly about there are two this year. We got the first one about climatology, as we call it, La Nina phenomenon, which like the sea surface temperature in the Pacific gets colder, while in Asia, in particular in Indonesia, it's hotter. Therefore, I mean, there are heavy rainfall is going to happen in Indonesia. At the same time, you also suffer from astronomical phenomenon, in which like the moon's orbit is not useful somehow. It's closest. I think the current moon like it's closest to the Earth. At the same time, the Earth is also getting closer to the Sun. So these movement basically affects tides in the Earth. Basically, I mean, not only in Indonesia but in the Earth. I think that's it. Those two phenomena. Two phenomena.
It seems to me a culmination of so many factors to kind of brew a perfect storm, no pun intended. But Avi, is this consistent across the region? Because we have seen and reported on several other extreme weather systems happening, especially around Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I think not only in Southeast Asia but around the world, I think we are experiencing the same phenomenon. Like in particular, I mentioned about the astronomical phenomenon. So basically, like for example, in the United States, they call this phenomenon as king tides. So I think like this is happening around the world.
Right. So, what are the risks of multi disasters taking place in Indonesia, Abby?
Right. There are a lot of consequences we should expect, like from this astronomical phenomenon. One of them is the increasing of coastal flooding. I mean, across the country. So because of the sea level rise as well. And then at the same time, we need to expect more landslides. We also probably we are going to report like more victims because we are not really prepared about multi disaster scenario, and also the economic losses from this multi disaster. I think it's also going to rise.
Yeah, even coastal flooding that we just reported on less than 10 kilometers from our studio happening over in Ancol in North Jakarta. Abi, let's talk a little bit about disaster mitigation here. What is the government doing so far? The systems that we have in place, is it enough? Because you talk about preparedness and it's seemingly that we are not as well prepared as it should be.
Right. We basically appreciate the way that current disaster in the Mount Semeru. However, I think the problem is because other things are not really well. I mean, are not really prepared. Like for example, about the political willingness. I think we have already talked about this. I think months before, but again, we haven't really seen any change in terms of doing actions on the ground. And at the same time, we know that we cannot impose like a blanket policy when it comes to early warning system. Yes, for urban areas, we can impose like technology, but at the same time, we should increase the use of local wisdoms like for rural as well as urban areas. I think another problem that we're experiencing is, sometimes government think that by giving the information is already enough, not really ensuring that the people who receive this information understand. I think this is the problem. They only like provide information. We should be vigilant that probably the increase sea level and so on and so forth. But without any recommendations about what people should do and should not do, I think it left people with confusion.
Right. So, Abi, what are the best practices for other countries in terms of disaster management or disaster management preparedness? Especially now, not only that Indonesia is facing a lot of natural disasters, but we are also facing the pandemic.
Right.
Right. I think I would like to refer to the United States because, uh, for example, the first one is about the early warning system. They always set a reminder, even a long way before the disaster strikes. So I think we should do this for urban areas in Indonesia. But at the same time, we should think about evacuating people even before disasters take place. I think the problem with Indonesia is we just evacuating people when disasters are already manifest.
Right.
Like this is totally different. Like in the United States, even though that your area is not really safe. I mean, your area is not going to impact to get the impact from the flooding, for example. You still get notification of evacuation. At least you should relocate yourself. So on and so forth.
Yeah, you mentioned a great point in regards to, we're basically just reacting to things that happen, and rules can be in place all they want, but it's only good if people follow them. So what's the best way to increase awareness, especially in these high-risk areas that are prone to natural disasters?
Yeah, there are 1,000 ways to increase disaster awareness. I think the easiest one, if you do not want to read, for example, those scientific journals, at least you can watch disaster-related movies. I mean, that's
really?
the easiest way to expose ourselves here. I mean, to understand about disaster risk and then what should do, what should not do. I think by watching movies also matters.
Do you have any recommendations, Abi? What movies?
When, yeah, I mean, when we want to learn about Mount Semeru, I think we can watch Dante Speak. I think it's an old movie.
Pierce Brosnan.
But I think it's very interesting, to study that. Unfortunately, in Indonesia, we do not produce disaster-related movies as
Right.
much as in the United States or in Korea.
Quite ironic.
Well, that's an idea, right, for the government
that never
to make.
occurred to me. Yeah, but it's true because Hollywood producers will always try to make it as accurate as possible. They
Yeah.
actually do research to make sure that they represent these disasters the way it actually would happen in their minds. And that would be a good point because a lot of the safety measures, I'm sure,
Yeah.
are actual safety measures.
Well, thank you so much for that, Abi. Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge and also sharing that movie reference. I'm actually going to watch Dante Speak
love
this
Dante's
weekend
Peak,
because we're facing Semeru at the
Exactly.
moment. Why not learn while being entertained, right?
Exactly. All
Thank you
right.
so much,
Thanks,
Habib,
Abi.
Abiyan, Dzakwan.
Great talking to you again.
Good talking to you.
Stay safe.
Thank you for having.
All right.
Bye.